but I'm just curious if you know which Belcher child you think would do the best on the challenge.
Oh, Louise. But like maybe Gene, because he'd be the person you'd keep around because you like him and he's really funny, but he's not going to be that great, so he's not really a threat, but he's going to have the best jokes.
Tina's just there for the hookups. Welcome to the new Bob's Credit series, my favorite episode, where we have a very special guest join us to discuss their absolute favorite episode of Bob's Burgers. And then, using a series of qualifications, we're all going to decide if this episode is in fact a top-tier Bob's Burgers episode. I'm Max.
And I'm Skylar.
And our guest today is the co-host of the popular podcast, The Brain Candy and This Changes Everything. But you also might know her as one of the more memorable cast members from MTV's The Real World and The Challenge. On top of that, she's also a licensed associate marriage and family therapist who uses her platform to promote mental health awareness. It's Sarah Rice. Sarah, thank you so much for joining us.
Hello there. I'm so excited because I love Bob's Burgers.
We had no idea you were a fan until I think you randomly liked one of our Bob's Burgers memes.
Yeah, probably, because I mean, that is what my For You page is. It is like Bob's Burgers content. And then they feed me every now and then stuff from the challenge because they can't tell the difference between liking it or being on it. And so I still get fed content like I'm a huge diehard challenge fan, even though
Okay.
I'm good.
So do you scroll past the challenge content or do you interact with it?
No, I'm good. I scroll past these days, but yeah. But
Good to
I
know.
click on the Bob's content because that is my favorite. You know, when you did the intro to this, you said where we have somebody pick their all-time favorite. That was an impossible task. Is this in my top favorites? Yes, but I would have to go through and rewatch for maybe the sixth time every single episode again and then rank them. This is why this show is great, because that's what you're doing here.
We've said that so many times too. Like we don't even know what episode we would pick if we were asked to be on this podcast. So good for you for
Sophie's
even
choice over here.
Yeah, being able to narrow it down.
Yeah. So I mean, why don't you just have me pick my favorite Belcher child?
Oh, we'll get there. Don't worry.
I can't.
Well, I don't mean to kick it back to the challenge, but I'm just curious if you know which Belcher child you think would do the best on the challenge.
Oh, Louise.
That's what I thought too.
Okay.
But maybe Gene, because he'd be the person you'd keep around because you like him and he's really funny, but he's not going to be that great, so he's not really a threat, but he's going to have the best jokes. And he's also going to make all the comments that everybody laughs at, like the one-liners. Yeah.
Tina's just there for the hookups.
Yeah, she's there for the butts. I'm in Speedos. Oh my gosh, she loved that part of the challenge. Oh my God, that's so funny.
So, okay, we're talking Bob's Burgers. Tell us a little bit about your history with it, like how you came across Bob's Burgers and like what got you into it initially.
Yeah, so I was one of those people, everybody said, you're going to love this show. You're going to love this show for so long. They're like, you are like so many of those characters. And so I don't know why I resisted for so long, but then the pandemic rolled around and I had some free time on my hands. So I started watching Bob's and I didn't stop. And now it's like my go-to comfort show. And I'm like one of those people who can rewatch something 1,000 times and I love it. I absolutely I think the show is perfect in so many ways. And as a therapist, that's the healthiest family on television. I'm sorry.
Amen. Okay, two things. We are pandemic Belcher babies too.
Okay.
We started watching during the pandemic. My neighbor is a therapist.
Yeah.
And she's always like, can you send me clips of just good parenting? And I'm like, I'm on it.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So many good examples of support I mean, all the time. That is, and I started watching the show in my very first year as a therapist working in private practice. And my partner at the time must have been so annoyed because I'd always be like, see, this is an example. They can do that. I was like that. Totally. It's great.
It's so good. But they hit those lessons home, but it's never preachy and always funny.
Oh, Yeah.
It just strikes a good balance.
And in like a way that's real instead of fake and like unattainable. Like a lot of like sitcoms are, family problems solved in a half an hour and everything's fine. And like, oh, no, they're like, no, everything's gone to shit. In fact, we're going to show it to you in the opening credits over and over and over and over and over. Like, it's the best.
I have 2 questions for you. One is, what is it about the Belchers that draws you to the family? I got daddy issues, so Bob Belcher is like my hero. And what character do your friends most frequently say you're like?
Oh, yeah, I think it's got to be like, okay, I know what it is. The sibling. Oh my God, I'm going to cry. I have no idea why.
That's what we were going for.
The sibling relationship is like me and my brothers.
No, that's so sweet.
I love them so much, and they're my best friends. And it really is like that. And this is so silly, I'm crying, but I'm currently, the people who are listening don't know this, but we had to postpone a recording because I had a dislocated finger that I had to go to the hand surgeon and take care of, and all this. I didn't have to have surgery, don't worry. But my brother's the one who popped it back into place and set it for me. So I'm just like, that guy's my hero. And I just feel like there's so many times where I watch them come to each other's defense where I'm like, that is like me and my brothers. Like, we would do anything for each other. And I just love that dynamic. So I think seeing the sibling connection is what made me all of a sudden get emotional today, and like what makes me obsessed with the show.
Yeah, sorry to throw multiple questions at you, but I'm an only child. So thank you for sharing that, because that was just really special.
It's the
to
best.
Witness. Yeah.
And we're like adults, and I'd rather hang out with them than anybody. And like, they're my best friends, and we are so funny when we're together. And it feels like the Belcher children, because there's a special sense of humor that siblings have where you can play off of each other. And I think you see that in the episode that I picked, like that. I think it's so fun to be able to have that. And so.
Yeah, and you can also pick on each other.
Yes.
But anyone else picks on you guys, and you'll team up and be like, no, that's our job.
Yep, that is so true. We pick on each other so much. Question number 2. It goes back and forth between Louise and Linda. Linda's, I would say, if somebody really knows me, then Linda, because it's the little things. And I wonder now if I'm just doing Linda impressions all the time. And that is how, like, it's not really like I'm like her, because I'm like, I'm just neurodivergent enough to maybe have just like adopted that as like my personality, but it's not, because I sing everything, and then it'll always be like, oh, look at the tree. And I'm like, that's not my line.
Everybody look at the tree.
So Linda, because I sing everything, I think that's always been there. And I'm kind of like the camp counselor kind of attitude. So want everybody to get along and kind of optimistic like that, and like I could see her just like doing art projects and trying to make the most out of every situation. But then a little bit of like the fighting spirit of Louise. So.
Which probably is what drew you to the challenge, because as challenge fans, I would never go on the challenge.
We're not built for it.
No, neither of you?
I don't think so.
I've said before that you watch the challenge and either think, oh my gosh, I could do that and I would love to do that, or you think, oh my gosh, I could never do that, and that's why I want to watch it.
Yeah, I watch it like I watch the Olympics, and that I'll critique it while like I'm shoving potato chips in my mouth, but I don't think I could do the majority of the stuff on there.
I think you'd be surprised. Most people on there are just regular. I mean, maybe they look like they're tough stuff, but I mean, I know I'm certainly regular, and I'm one of the most winningest, so.
Maybe it's the camp counselor. Maybe it's your Linda spirit.
I think that is it. I 100% think that attitude is everything, and optimism and a positive attitude is what wins about 90% of that challenge.
Right.
Let's get into the episode you picked. As you mentioned, you had a hard time picking an episode. Just tell us the name of the episode and why you picked it.
Yes. The Silence of, is it The Louise or The Silence of Louise?
The
The
Louise.
It is. I thought that was
Yeah.
weird. Silence of, but I guess why, I know why we're doing that. But Silence of the Louise. And I picked it because I like any episode that has kind of like a therapy twist in a way, or like a psychological twist, which this one definitely does. And I also like anything that plays on movies, which a lot of the Bob's episodes do. And this one obviously is a play on Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah, the way the Bob's Burgers writers love pop culture and 80s movies, it elevates the show.
Yeah,
and
and
they
I think
did such a good job with tying it together.
Oh, the shot when Louise is walking down the hall and enters Millie's room. We just watched The Silence of the Lambs again a month ago, and it was like verbatim, and I was like scared. I was like, oh no, Hannibal Lecter's gonna be there.
Hi, Louise.
when you're watching Silence of the Lambs, that shot is so scary but also funny in a way because he's just standing there.
Yeah.
It's funny.
And yeah, and so like it works perfectly for comedy just because it is kind of funny even though it's so creepy.
Yeah.
So it works perfect in this instance too. I love Millie just standing in her room waiting for them to arrive.
I want to read a synopsis to drop people into the context of the episode. But before we do, I wanted to ask you, you said you like therapy twist. Is it that you like the twist that Louise actually does have these friendship feelings?
Oh my
for...
gosh. I didn't even think about that part, but that is so cute. I like just her interviewing Millie, and like, I mean, I didn't even think about the part about how that's like therapy. How therapy works is there's a secret message the whole time you didn't even know was there.
Yes. Or is it the Mr. Frond?
It's both, you know? I will say I watched this episode a few times, and Mr. Frond annoys the heck out of me.
We did not guess that.
Yeah, I said to Skylar because obviously you chose this episode, but the other one you gave us was E2 Gaga Tambien,
Oh my
which
God.
is a big Frond episode. And I
Yeah.
was like, I got to ask Sarah if she's a Frond freak.
No,
'cause
and-
they're out there.
I know, but you know what? And it makes it seem like that. But no, I'm a Gaga Ball freak because I'm
Okay.
a camp counselor. But it was that. So no, that was not it. But what I think he reminds me of are those people who know just enough about therapy to be dangerous, which is kind of what we see here, right? I
Yeah.
interrupted your synopsis. First, read the synopsis, and before I give away the ending.
No.
in my-
Okay. Season 8, The Silence of the Louise. If the Wagstaff kids read 500 books, they'll win a day at the kind of sanitary water park. Ready, set, go. But when someone massacres Mr. Frond's therapy dolls, the prize is called off until someone confesses to the crime. Luckily, Louise is on the case, and in homage to The Silence of the Lambs, she visits Millie as her psycho-sultant. In exchange for playdates, Millie will help Louise crack the case. Spoiler alert, it was Mr. Frond all along trying to cover for the staff who spent the field trip fund on coffee pots. Meanwhile, Teddy takes on a new business venture, inspirational posters. There's no time like the present. Today is tomorrow's yesterday, after all.
Oh, poor Teddy. You want to root for him. Like that's great writing. When somebody messes up so much, but you still care about them and root for them and hope they get the girl, but then also don't want them to get the girl because you're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, you could do better." He's the kind of guy who I think would be nice to me, and then I would get stuck in a long conversation with and wouldn't know how to get out of, and would just be like, I would end up dating him for 3 months because I'm like nice, and then I would break his heart, and then I'd feel guilty about it for forever when I shouldn't have said yes in the first place.
Okay, let's get into this top tier episode test. As I mentioned earlier, we are going to go through a series of questions, and then we're pretty much going to answer yes or no with, we can talk all about it. And if we answer yes to 10 of them, it is considered a top tier episode. 9, we can argue for it to be in top tier. Anything under, it's not going to make the cut.
Okay.
So let's get into it. The first question is, does this episode make you feel all warm and fuzzy inside?
Oh, yeah. If you were somebody who ever did the bookathon or any like book it, readathon thing, like you tried to get Pizza Hut token coupons, all that, it brought back warm fuzzy memories of me reading. And then they were going through all those books, and who hasn't had the emotional reaction to all the animals dying in the children's books?
In all of children's literature.
Right.
Charlotte totally dies. And then I used the book to kill a spider, and that like really made me think.
So that's my argument for the warm fuzzies in the nostalgia category.
Yeah, and I'm going to say yes, too, based on what we were kind of like talking about earlier. I love when Louise shows how big of a heart she actually has. And she wants to dislike Millie so much, but they become friends in a way. And we see the same thing with Jean and Courtney at some point over the course of the series. You know, it's like they don't get along initially, but then they become friends, and it's just so adorable.
It is. And when her siblings are teasing her about the poster that she made for Millie, it's really sweet. And as you were touching on, when these three kids get together, and normally like Louise is at the helm, but they're all together helping each other as best as Tina and Jean can, which is bouncing on a trampoline. It's fantastic. So good. And I love when Bob gets a win, even if it's just understanding an inspirational poster.
Yes. And him cheering on Teddy like that. Like, sometimes he's not in his car. I mean, he always is, but, you know, kind of be hard.
He can
on
be
him. But
harsh.
this one, he was like, no, it's good. And so that was cute.
Poor Teddy.
I know.
Next question is, does this episode bypass rewatchability fatigue? So can you watch it over and over and not get tired of it?
I'm going to say no, because I watched it 3 times, and I don't know if it's just because I am annoyed with Mr. Frond, like I said, but by the end of it, I was like, did I pick the right episode? So, I know.
Really?
They gasped! Yeah, well, I was doubting myself. I was just like, you know, I watched it a lot.
Yeah. This episode wasn't like, if someone just shouted at me, like, name your top 5.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be there. So when I sat down to watch it, I was like, this is so good. This is so
good. Okay,
good.
so it was a sleeper and a surprise.
Yes.
Okay,
And-
2 to
but you had
3.
pressure.
2 to 3. So my vote doesn't count.
Yeah, I'm going to say
Okay.
yes, too, just
All right.
because we watched it a third time today, and I enjoyed myself the entire time. When you picked it, I could honestly only remember parts of it, and now I'm so like familiar with it and enjoy it so much, and it's actually bumped up on my list, so I'm going to say yes to it.
Okay, good. And you know what? Now that I said that, I'm like defending my own argument against it, but or challenging my own argument. But there are still jokes that I'm thinking about, things that I'm laughing at right now.
No, that's perfect to lead us into the next question, which is, and it's not a yes or no question, but how is the JPM, which is jokes per minute?
Excellent.
Head.
Can I say my favorite?
Oh my God, yes.
I gotta go see a tramp named Olene. But then later in the episode, when Tina goes,
Oh, a tramp named Olene. Now I got it.
and she like gets it later. And
Yes.
that is the best.
One of my favorite subtle jokes is when they show up at Millie's house, and eventually Millie calls Jean and Louise.
There's a trampoline in the back. Go bounce and stay out of our way. Not Louise girl, not Louise boy.
It's so good. This is a new podcast franchise for us. So this is only the second time we've asked someone about jokes per minute. And I think what's happening for me is on the rewatches of the episodes, am I finding jokes that I just didn't even know were there?
Definitely.
And our third watch, I was still finding new jokes.
Yeah.
One was in the teacher lounge when they're telling the kids what they've done. Mr. Ambrose says,
Hush, you worm! Laban's palm strike his windpipe now!
and like I just like
Yeah.
didn't like hadn't heard it, and it was so funny.
Like just the fact that they spent all the money on pods, and then I'm like, yeah, the pods are the expensive part.
And Tina's
Ah.
like, could you just have not like just stop drinking coffee, Mr. Ambrose is like, no, we could not have. It's like, true.
And any teacher is like, nope, definitely not. Do not take away our coffee.
They just manage on the show to have layers where it's like, yes, this is the direct joke, and then there's like something said under someone's breath, and then there's like a response that you miss because you're laughing at the first joke, and then there's like physical comedy too, and they're just coming at you. The next question is each character doing what that character does best?
Oh, absolutely 100% yes.
Every single one. Linda, particularly. 2 of my favorite lines of Linda.
I've got a monkey holding a banana like a phone.
Who's he calling? Oh, it's fun to imagine, right? Michael Jackson. Bob, relax. Look at Teddy's poster. Tomorrow is tomorrow, goes tomorrow.
That's not what it says.
Today is tomorrow.
It's not working.
And breathe.
I don't like it.
She's hilarious. As you mentioned, the tramp named Orlean, if that's not the most Jean joke.
Yeah.
Tina has
Definitely Jane joke.
2 boy jokes.
And then take it on back to Boys Town.
We're not shoplifters. Wait, what's Boys Town? It sounds interesting.
And when Jimmy Jr.'s running at the end of the episode in his little swimsuit, she's like, bye.
You bring up Jimmy Jr. I love Zeke and Jimmy Jr. when Zeke is confessing to the crime he did not commit for Jimmy Jr.'s sake. It is they're at the top of their game there.
So everyone gets to go to the water park, I guess. You get to go, JJ. You get to go.
Okay,
Oh, God, I need help. Little help. Somebody help him. Come on. He needs help.
If that isn't the true love relationship, I don't know what is.
Okay, this is a big fan theory. Is there something romantic? Yes.
Yes. 100%. Those are boys who are feels and don't know how to communicate them, but in any other way than wrestle.
Yes.
That's
That's a therapist take on that.
Yes. We do need a the Belchers 20 years later.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. See, here's what's gonna happen. They both maybe one of them got married and then decides, this isn't. Probably Jimmy Jr. because his dad, he just felt like and so he probably felt like he had to, and then Zeke's off, probably I don't know, get some job in some South American country and discovers himself and then comes back. And I don't know, my mom lives in Costa Rica, so I'm a lot of people from my family have ventured to other parts of the world, found themselves and changed their lives. So I can see that. Then he comes back and then they meet and fall in love and the rest is history.
I love that.
I want to see an indie drama starring Zeke now.
Yeah.
Max, what would the indie film be called?
Not Without My Sleeves.
That's a gift, sir. Oh
Max,
my gosh.
This
That
is why I
was-
married him.
That is
That's
I
the
see
one reason.
why. You better hold on to him. That was good.
Oh my gosh, I just showed the whole internet my pit stains. I'm sorry. So
That's
sorry.
fine. I'll show mine, so we're
Look,
even.
yeah, we'll all get in on it. Yeah, well,
Wait.
Yeah.
Zeke is onto something.
yeah,
Sleeveless.
He's Zeke's a sweater, so there's a reason he's sleeveless. Okay, next question is: was the family together enough?
There was a separation between kids and parents in this one. A lot. What do you think? We had a lot of connection between the kids, but parents were kind of like a separate episode almost.
Yeah, I think we had a really great first scene at the breakfast table where Louise is trying to finish the book, and then it's not too much throughout the episode. They are very separate.
Yeah. And I do prefer when there's the family come together thing at the, there's some way where it all ties in. Oh, the one where they rent the house in the lake at the that might actually be my favorite episode with the mosquitoes and then falls asleep and then the mosquito talks to her and that's a great episode. Anyways, that's not the episode we're talking about, but this one, I don't know, I wouldn't say it's the family togetherness. If I'm ranking them in my head, those are the ones, one like that pops up when I think family togetherness.
I'm
I'm gonna say no too.
I'll say no too.
Yeah.
I do
okay.
have to ask, do you love The Plight Before Christmas, where Tina goes to Louise's poetry reading?
Oh my God, I loved that. I think I bawled my eyes out at that one.
Yeah.
Actually, that one's really fantastic.
This is the problem with this series, Max. Like, great idea, but also...
No, but that's why it's never ending and it's the best idea.
It's
the best. This is really good.
Yeah, we're going to be doing it for the rest of our lives.
Yeah, probably.
Because we've named these other episodes, I'm going to say I would have liked a little more family.
I agree. Somehow tying the poster into it, like she makes I don't know how, but
yeah. I mean, but that's what our main feed podcast, we talk a lot about the credits, and the credits do that. They bring the family back together.
That is true.
Which always makes me feel really good, because it's just like those family moments that are like glimmers, where it's just the everyday moments that are the most beautiful, which is mom and dad at the restaurant and the kids being like dancing or whatever. That like always hit me. So the credits did do that for me.
I know you didn't do this on purpose, Skylar, but our next question is, do the end credits give you that serotonin surge? And I think we already have the answer there.
There you go.
They're incredible.
My mom always says, same psychic mom, she would always say when talking about like relationships and things like that, that anybody can have fun together at Disneyland, but who do you want to be with in traffic on the way home? And that is kind of what you're describing, is the in between times, the kitchen and, flipping burgers in a messy kitchen at some random time. That is kind of like traffic on the way home. And that's the real family, togetherness and all that.
I feel like that quote from your mom describes the Belchers and the show. Yeah.
It's a perfect show, people.
It is.
It's perfect. It's perfect. And I love the extra in the end credits, the whole storyline of Teddy's now choking, so Bob has to run over to the other side, try and help him. He comes back in the kitchen to pull down the poster that is now blocking the choking. They cram so much in the end credits. That's why we have a whole podcast dedicated to the credits. They're so perfect. I want to have you just like rank them on a scale of 1 to 10, because we rank them on our podcast.
Ooh. I mean, now when you say all that, I'd go like a solid 8.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I can't remember what we rated them, but I'll splice it in here at some point. Ready? Together? 1, 2, 3, 10. Yes. 100%.
Iconic. There's like a whole story arc. Teddy's choking. High stakes. The dude could die.
Yeah.
It plays into the episode. And I also, going back to the beginning of this recording, Louise wants to play with Millie.
Yes.
They are friends, and they are in that kitchen actually having fun together. And the way Gene looks at the regurgitated piece of hamburger on the floor when he walks by is so funny to me.
See, I didn't even notice that.
This is what we do.
That's why you can watch them 1,000 times. It's the best.
Okay, next question is the quintessential weird factor of Bob's Burgers present?
Oh, yeah. I think the scene alone of all of the dolls getting taken apart, and then the detail that the crochet dolls were unraveled because whoever did it obviously respected the dolls, and then the way that Millie is wording it to Louise to hint to her at who committed the crime, like even just the way she does the like thing.
Oh,
like
that
is
so funny.
Come on, that's like weird and odd and
yeah. I think you said it. Like there was a massacre of crochet therapy dolls. So.
Yeah, I think that immediately gets a yes from me. Just it's so, and the way they're like, they're hung like a horror movie. It's so funny.
And teachers plotting against children.
Oh, so good.
Okay, next question is, would you recommend this specific episode to a friend who has never seen the show?
Yes, because I like that there's the tie-in with Silence of the Lambs. So if you were somebody who's maybe just seen Silence of the Lambs, come for Silence of the Lambs, stay for Bob's. Kind of like that.
It would convert me. It's so good. And to your point, the plotting is like very skilled.
Yeah, I'm going to say yes to that too, because it's just a fun story. This is doing pretty well. I'm not going to lie.
Thrilled. I was not thinking this, but I was like doubting my episode pick.
No.
But I shouldn't doubt myself. Gosh.
Okay, here is a therapist question. Will this episode cure your seasonal depression?
I mean, it's got the jokes per minute. Yeah, it's very funny. And here's where I'm going to come in with like
I'm so excited.
arc my point.
Yeah.
So when you're in sometimes that dark place, you don't want all that like bubbly, happy, like rainbows and unicorn stuff. We're not ready for that. What are the ponies called?
Unicorns?
No. The Tina's ponies.
Equestronauts?
Yes, equestronauts. We're not ready for equestronauts, not unicorns. But yeah, that is the right answer out in the regular world. But here,
Like
equestronauts.
like Chapel Roan?
Right. Yeah, exactly. We're not ready for like equestronauts here. We're like just in seasonal depression mode, so we need like dark comedy. And what better than a story about possible murder or crime based on like a serial killer? And there you go.
Honestly, I didn't plan this. The segues into the questions have been so good because the next question is if you took the humor away, does the plot hold its own?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you have Silence of the Lambs.
It's a whodunit with a twist.
The stakes are there. There's this great storytelling device. Tina's jumping on the trampoline and Louise is jumping on the trampoline and she's like, Millie, we have to hurry because Ready, Set, Go doesn't stay open very long, before there's another infection or wavy gravy episode. The stakes are high. It's so important to the kids. And what was fun about watching it the second and third time is Mr. Franz like holding his coffee in the first shot together, and all these plant and payoffs are there. It's just good storytelling.
And you know what? If we take the other like subplot of what's going on with Teddy and the posters, to me, that seems like a sad story. That's a dark, like there's not much comedy there anyway. And if it is, it's like more of a tragedy anyway. Like it's just sad. Yeah. So there's still the same plot with or without the comedy because it's still Teddy just not getting the girl and looking kind of like a schmuck.
Teddy is just the great tragedy.
Okay, next question is, did the episode leave you wanting more? Would you be excited for a part 2?
I mean, yeah. Why not? It definitely left me wanting more because I then went on and binged Bob's for like the next 5 hours. So,
did you really?
Well, I mean, I just keep it on and play it in the background as I'm doing my life.
I love that. Okay, I need a blurb from you.
Okay.
Because this is the number one thing people comment on our Instagram.
Oh.
This is my comfort show. This is my comfort show.
Oh, yeah.
As a therapist,
yes.
Why do you think that is?
I think that this show shows people that they are valuable and lovable regardless of anything else. That at the end of the day, family and love and connection is all that matters. And if you have those things, you are richer than the pizza place across the street and, or the guy who owns the whole pier or the guy who owns the restaurant itself. And I think that it just allows people to be people. And who doesn't want that in a show? We don't have to show up as anybody but ourselves. And the weirder, the better.
Amen. Bob and Linda, they accept their children's weirdness.
Oh, yes. And that show shows you examples of people expressing themselves in any way. Jean dresses up in women's clothing. No
Normal
problem.
Day. Yeah.
Normal day. Mm-hmm. Jean dresses up as little Bob. Bob has a problem with it. But no
I
problem
don't.
for everybody else. I don't either. But, there's just total acceptance and love.
Yeah. It's
and
so
also
good.
it's a comfort show because the humor is it's like a kind humor. Like we're so used to humor being mean and punching down, and especially, coming into when Bob started, that was like what comedy was, and it's shown us that you can be kind and still be very, very funny. I'm going to pass that then, and we've got 2 more questions. I think I know the answer to this next one. Was a song from the episode stuck in your head afterwards?
Yes. Playdates.
It's impossible. Like, if you weren't singing Playdates after watching this episode, I don't know how you managed to not get that stuck in your head.
Yep.
Yes.
Definitely.
Hard pass.
The final question is, does at least part of the episode take place in the restaurant?
Yes.
Yes, it does.
Yes.
And I'm scrolling through, and this only got one no, which was the family was not together enough. So that means that this easily is a top tier Bob's Burgers episode.
Guys.
Sarah, this is our second one. This is the first one to make that cut.
Oh,
I am first.
So excited. I am thrilled because the pressure was on, not from anybody but myself, but I was still putting it on myself, and I am so glad that I came through with an episode that was in fact top tier, because that was my instinct, and I'm glad that it was right.
I am too. It was so depressing on our last episode where Max was like, is this a top tier? And he's like, no. I was like, oh, I'm really sad now. This isn't fun.
You know what? It's like slot machines. It keeps it exciting. Sometimes
True.
you win them, sometimes you lose them, but you're going to keep playing.
Bob's has set the bar so high on itself.
Yeah.
So it's really like to make this top tier cut, it's really got to be up there. And
I
wow,
watched a few that got rejected. Like, I went through and I was like, nope, close, but nope.
Mm-hmm.
So this is it. If you guys ever want to discuss Bob's more in the future, I will come back with that Lake House episode.
Oh, we would
absolutely.
love
We'll have
that.
you. We'll have you back anytime.
Because let me tell you, discussing Bob's, for anybody listening, this is so much fun.
It's so fun.
It's
and
it's
thank
a
you
blast.
for
And
coming on the show.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been so fun.
yeah, we're definitely gonna have you back at some point if you will come back. But until then, where can everyone find you?
You can find me. I'm Sarah Rice, letter I, letter M, on Instagram. And you can listen to my podcast, the Brain Candy Podcast, or if you're looking for a therapy-themed podcast, This Changes Everything is where I do all that therapy talk. And I also offer online therapy to anybody who is a resident of California. So if you're somebody in need of therapy, want to try that out, and you're like, hey, that gal is probably going to get me because she gets Bob's and I get Bob, and she'd probably be a great therapist for me. Look me up. There you go.
I feel like that would be a very good fit.
It is.
You know
I'm
what I
telling
mean?
you, that
Yeah.
is if you feel like you're like, that's what determines like the best outcomes or is the best indicator of positive outcomes is how much the person gets along with their therapist or how much they feel like their therapist gets them, like just understands them. So it's what I aim to do, is just get people.
Amazing.
Thank you so much, Sarah. And for those of you watching, if you want more of Skylar and myself, we, as we mentioned, host a podcast called Bob's Credits over on our main feed, where we go episode by episode through Bob's Burgers, and we focus on the end credits. You dissect them a bit, and then we rate them. But we also are doing these My Favorite Episodes, and we'll be back very soon with a new episode and a new guest. And hopefully, fingers crossed, down the road, Sarah will be back too.